Good morning and good afternoon to those overseas. Happy to be on another onboarding Let's Build session with Willem Reus. How you doing?
Pretty good. And yourself?
I am. I'm fantastic, man. And just gotta share the story of last week, right? For those who might have seen the recording, I'm in a hotel room. Connections not great. There's literally nothing on my side that tells me anything that we're doing is working. And then we end up at the end of the episode where the recording is available, like 30 minutes, and it's just like, okay, just trust the
And it
technology.
still worked.
Yeah. And it's like, okay. So I guess in a nutshell, that's what things are working out for me right now, Willem. So it's I'm happy,
But you're
enjoying
telling me
life.
you were not sitting by the pool? You were actually in a hotel room?
Yeah, I don't want to push my luck, I don't think. Yeah. But we had a good session, and that's where, a lot of this is just showing up, consistently having these conversations. We were ready to have it not work out if we needed. We knew we'd get a recording. But just showing up and talking about this stuff is important. These specific challenges we're hearing a lot with onboarding. So it's been really, insightful to have these chats with you. And today we're gonna, focus on what the wrap up looks like and maybe some transition out. But yeah, so just appreciate you taking the time to share your onboarding expertise with us.
It's always a pleasure. So one of the things that we talked about last time was the steps for the onboarding, and we basically stopped partially at the reporting and at the portal audit. And what I think we should do to give a very brief recap, and let me try to share my screen if I'm handy enough for that. You can basically see here the onboarding for Marketing Hub Professional, and you can see, of course, the price that HubSpot charges, but it also includes that you may receive guidance. And as you can see, the customer reports, for instance, are not in there. So you should keep in mind that while you want during the onboarding to see some of the initial impact, until now, we basically only talked about initial impact and kind of what you don't want to hear, but a point solution, because initial impact is just focusing on the one small bit. And one of the things that we should basically look at today is, and let's see if I can share another screen.
Yeah, and what came to mind as you were showing that list, because I think that was the Marketing Hub uh, onboarding specifically. And like even within that, like the whole reason that they need to say may, receive guidance is like all those things in there could be a point solution that people invest in. And, just setting the tone. Like I'm hopeful that we can provide guidance around like where's the guidance that tells me what I must do, and then the extras and how we pivot off of that instead of always trying to be in this flexible place. But I guess you know I won't try to dream too big here.
No, but for me, one of the things is that you should really realize that if you're looking for an initial impact, you're basically looking for the right thing, because all you're looking for is a start and not a finish. And I think that how we should finish this bit of the onboarding is actually by saying, what would a complete onboarding look like, and how, and I'm going to share the site that I shared with you before. What are the things that are required for me to take it to the next step? Because onboarding is not the end. It is just the beginning and switching to a different phase. Have I set up the users correctly? Have I set up the email template correctly? Did I actually go through everything? And you know that if you look at portal audits or something like that, that there's a whole range of what people mean with that. And I don't know if you've ever been in a portal that's like a gazillion years old and everybody just messed around with it. If you would have to do a complete portal audit of that, that would likely take you months. But realistically, what we're talking about with a portal audit in the onboarding space is you're just checking, is everything actually done? Has somebody started something? Is there an email template? You're not looking at like, should there be 6 email templates? And are there actually 6 set up? No, if there's one email template in there, then the company that basically purchased the portal knows how to set it up. They know how to do it. If they created one of the worst workflows that you've ever seen, then they know a little bit about how workflows work. So that makes it kind of like a checkbox and kind of like an easier exercise. That doesn't take away the value from doing a 1 year in or maybe half year in portal review, but it does add a lot of value in seeing really HubSpot as a platform. Because basically, for me, from my perspective, after the onboarding, you should see it as a platform. During and pre-onboarding, nah, don't care much.
And I
How do
imagine
you
that's
feel about that?
because, well, I'm always impressed by companies that can create a level of focus that we know is required to get things done in a very efficient and effective way. But I think there's a balance that we need to find where we don't create like silos, whether it's silos of tools or silos of knowledge, as we get there. So it's it is important, especially when it's like a very defined schedule. We have 90 days to do this. Here's all the things we need to do. We have to find ways to focus on that. Right. But I like what you're saying about like towards the end, like how do we, start to reveal what's behind, the curtain, set some better expectations about this customer platform that they now have at their fingertips, um, because that's where we see, the misaligned expectations. One, in that, okay, we got these things done. We say we don't care about these other things, but they will be revealed to us as we start to use the system. But two, also the onboarding is not the end, right? We're talking about the end of the start today. But like if you view onboarding as like, okay, we got HubSpot now. Like we're good. Like we
Yeah,
don't
but
have to worry about it anymore.
I'm even going to question if it's the end of the start. Because what we're now talking about is okay, we should start with user onboarding. We should start with user training and that sort of thing. And that's a separate onboarding, basically. That's not something that most people consider. But how do you actually make sure that during the onboarding, that the person who starts in 6 months' time, that person is properly onboarded? Because you're basically talking about the first, I'm going to call them the first generation of users. I know that's terrible wording, but you're also talking about the people who come after that, who step in halfway. And that is why there are certain uh, products that allow basically to do that in HubSpot.
Yeah. No, that's what came to mind when you said like we're not trying to create 6 email templates. We just want to make sure one got done. And immediately I said, it's like, but how do we know that person can tell the next person how to do an email like
Yeah.
template, right? That's where it starts to lose steam, especially when you have, changeover. And, in general, most people are investing in HubSpot because they're in some kind of growth mode, right? So we know more people are going to be touching the system. And no, you're right. Like, I think we need to get to the point where it's not a start or an end. Like, this is, I love the people that talk about it like it's a product that develops over time and needs to be maintained over time. And if you think about it, one of the reasons I try to, I'll say I'm getting better at helping IT teams think about HubSpot, but when you try to apply like an IT project, delivery mindset to this platform, like there is no done. It's like websites. There should never be a done, right? They should be evolving based on user expectations, based on customers, like, and that's the beauty and why you invest in a system like HubSpot, because it allows you to do that without needing a huge team to be on top of it all the time, to be there to bring it down and then bring it back up, to be monitoring for it breaking all the time. Like all of these things that we're used to in other systems. So I like what you say there. Like it's not a start or an end. Like it's like, here's the investment we're making. What does it mean to our business? And this step of, okay, what have we accomplished so far? And what have we really accomplished? Like trying to go beyond a little bit of check boxes. And before I pass it back, I can tell you I really struggle with how does onboarding not include training? And like, are you really onboarded if you haven't been trained?
It depends on your definition of onboarding. And that is why, for me, it is so important to set expectations. And we saw the pricing of onboarding, of guided up onboarding for HubSpot for Marketing Hub Pro. Typically, a partner will charge you a fair bit more. And I'm not going to name any specific prices, but a fair bit more. And I'm going to say that that will provide likely a far better ROI than trying to spend less. Because the more you spend trying to start up your business and to make the revenue factory really work for you, the faster everything will grow. And what that means is that you will not just, let's for now say that you pay 2K a month for HubSpot. And if you have a partner in there who can get you ready and using HubSpot 3 months earlier, then you could do that totally yourself. If you use HubSpot, you will basically want to see a return of investment of about 2-3x. So for now, we're going to say 2x. In 3 months' time, how much is that? Is that the 3 months times 2K that you pay HubSpot? Is that the 3 months times 4K? Or are you going to say, no, that 4K will put me in an earlier spot in my growth trajectory, so it will be about 10.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great point. And this is why there's a lot of conversation, right now about the quality of onboardings throughout, whoever you're buying from right now or engaging with, and like why it's important to understand that, $0 onboardings or onboardings that are clearly, supported by, people that are meant for like, work that doesn't include training, doesn't include strategic, like it's just get the thing done, right? Understand what you're getting, and you're not setting yourself up unless you have some kind of internal enablement mechanisms that you can literally get away with that kind of handoff. Like if you've got real teams, we're not saying you have to pay somebody else to do this. I think the key is having somebody focused on this piece of, okay, now it's working. Like, how do we get people adopting it? How do they know actually, like, instead of relying on the spreadsheets, like, how do we get them to start using HubSpot? Like, there's just so much of this that when you invest that higher dollar amount, that is the stuff that comes with it. Like, are we really onboarding your business, like, onto the HubSpot platform? Or are we onboarding HubSpot to your business almost? As might be a better way to think about it.
But one of the questions that a lot of people have is like, can you give me a list of the things that I don't know yet? And that really is like, yeah, which features am I not using that I should use? A question like that, if you want to answer that for me, for my business, you would have to have an understanding how my business works start to finish. How much time would that take you if I'm a mid-market business?
Yeah. And that's why I like when you do these engagements with, elite partners or partners that like you hear all these success stories of, these businesses that they've helped, like that session, those sessions up front that nobody likes, like the 3 hour workshops where we have to have the whole leadership team in. And, a part of the challenge I remember is when I was, trying to work with multiple partners, they all want that, session. And it's like, how do I like not ask the leadership team to sit on 9 hours, of these sessions? But it's really, if we're counting on them to make some of those decisions for us, they can't do it without doing their due diligence. Sometimes in a business model they've never seen before, in a market they probably are not an expert in, right? And they're willing to like, they can actually get very good at researching and assimilating and then returning insights that hopefully we listen to if we ask them to do all that work.
Hopefully.
But there's a cost to that. There's spending time, and that's where usually when I get a question like that, it's like we're not having the right conversation at that point. Like, you don't understand what HubSpot is doing for your business if that's your question and you expect somebody else to be answering that for you. Here's what HubSpot is. It's, in simplest terms, I usually get an understanding. Like, think of all your customer processes. This is the place that, if we decide to start and end them there, we will have that 360-degree view of the customer that everybody wants, right? The communication management, trying to boil it down to things like that. Because if I say, if you ask me for one thing that HubSpot should be doing, that it's managing the communication, like for your business. Like, now, am I going to tell you the list of tools that help you? No, I'm not, because, social media tools that might be super important for managing communication externally for this business
Yeah,
might be less important for this business, right? The sequences, all these tools work together to manage communication in the way that's right for your business, right? Even the internal stuff is where, businesses can get this. So I like that. Like, we got to find a way to, reframe those questions a little bit while also not being difficult, right? They're clearly wanting to understand, what they should expect out of the value that they're investing in, and things like that. So we want to help them understand that, right? But know that just giving them a list of stuff they could do is probably not going to help them understand that.
isn't everybody in life looking for the simplest solution that gives the least amount of pain? And if you're a partner and you go to do, let's say, a little bit of research about a company, you actually go to them, you ask them difficult questions, they become uncomfortable and they're like, yeah, Chris, you're just not a nice person. That is also one of the things that I think is somewhat challenging. Where is exactly the balance? And that is also partially the responsibility of the customer. I'm going to say that if you invite a partner over and if that partner doesn't ask you the difficult questions and hopefully makes you uncomfortable, is that really the right fit? It depends on what service the partner provides. If I want you to write me a funny social media post, and that is why I hire you as a partner, and you ask me all kind of difficult questions about my go-to-market motions, oh, no, just
Just
no.
write the post. Why can't you just
Just
write the
write the
post?
bloody post and be done with it.
Then what? What do we want them to do from the post? Like, what? Yeah, no, it's totally. That's why, like, you're not. As I got involved in this, I made an effort to say, like, I don't think these companies that are still struggling with digital transformation, CRM adoption, you know, like still buying lists like of emails that are it's actually an illegal activity to do like what are we not giving them, what value is missing from the consulting, the implementation experts, you know, the SEO gurus, like, and it's the kid gloves that we put on to try and get the business, right? It's like, oh, let's just find some quick wins. They want some quick wins, so we'll give them to them. Oh, they want some leads, we'll give them to them, right? That's not serving anybody. Like, it doesn't create sustainability. It doesn't create, you know, real expectations for what.
Keep in mind, people said that about something like Google Ads as well. You know, it doesn't create a sustainable way of doing it. And for me, I'm not saying that it is or it isn't, but everything has to be measurable and you have to have a measurable impact. And what I would say is that if you bring somebody in, it should be either for doing something simple, like I'm going to tell you to write just three social media posts, and I'm not basically paying you to actually think about anything else. Or we should say, no, what are we going to measure? What is the impact? And let's look at this from really a perspective where you look at money in, money out, and what is the eventual benefit. And that is where I think, like, if you buy lists, what is the CAC over lifetime value of those? Compare that to what is actually sourced by your BDR team.
Yeah, show me a leader that understands CAC over lifetime value. Like, there's right, and that's where we have to start. That's why it's like they're in no position to even understand, like, and you say things like customer acquisition cost, and they just think about marketing and ads, and it's like, oh, by the way, you have this huge sales team that also costs money, and they are acquiring customers, and we're not even thinking like trying to find ways to have those conversations to just challenge, like, because if they because here's the thing, they tell you they want growth. Some tell you they want sustainability. Some tell you they don't like burning out all their employees. And when I try to latch on to those things, like, okay, if you want that, like, I agree, that's going to be what's best for your business. But that does not equal throwing a bunch of money at Google Ads and not at least understanding, like, yeah, maybe one or two leads came in, maybe we got a couple sales, but how many sales could we have gotten if we had moved that over to LinkedIn or this other activity? And that's often what, you know, that struggle is we've been doing this thing forever. Even though the results are going down, we're still getting results. There's some
Yeah.
certainty in that there will be a non-zero result versus, oh, we don't know what LinkedIn is, right? We don't know what it can do for our business, so we're not going to move anything over there, right? Um, so I think at the end of this process, I don't know, you definitely should be getting conversations like that, you know, from the partner. I think that's the challenge of, you know, the difference between onboardings, the difference between audits. Like it or not, there's a lot of nuance to all these words that we use to say, all right, just do this and this and this, and you'll be on, you know, a path to success. If
But
you
if
can
I
get
was a
this,
partner, and if I would walk you through, and I'm going to say for now, the checklist. So this audit is a very light one. It's something that we will go through in, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours time. I will also show you exactly where there is potential opportunity. I will show you where you, and I'm going to use the wrong word here, but I show you where I can help you, where I can make more money. So it is in my best interest as a partner to spend some time, do it properly, have an understanding of your business. And before just saying, ooh, check, we made one email template. Think about like, okay, we made an email template. Look, that was the initial impact that we wanted to have. Isn't that fantastic? Now just think about what could happen if we would create 6 of them and they would go out to, but that's not included. Do you see the value right now?
It's like you're in my head. Like, that's where I was gonna go. Like, if we're just checking boxes, like, okay, email template's done, and they don't understand the value of even having an email template, right? They never get to the 6 templates. They just make a bunch of individual ones based on the first one. And now we're not automating, we're not personalizing. And if we are, we're doing it in the most manual way possible, right? Which now it seems like we're doing work for this system that's supposed to be doing work for us. So I love that example. That's a perfect example of like, okay, we made the template. How do we get to, like, do you understand why you need email templates? Right. And the power that that can have for your business. Right. Because, and that's where you can find a couple of those. It's challenging, but that's where you key in on, like you say, find those initial impacts that they clearly value, and then use that as a kind of a common language foundation to represent the other value that is right
Yeah.
there, right?
Exactly. And for me, it really, as if I was the customer, it would make a tremendous difference if you would say, "Ooh, look, we agreed on an initial impact of," and I'm gonna keep it simple right now, 6 points. You as a partner or as an onboarding specialist just walked me through that. We completed 7 points, and that there are, I don't know, 40 more points where we can actually grow and increase our ROI of the investment. How would that make me feel? Or if you just throw a checklist over the fence saying, "Ooh, you know what? There are 50 points on here. We finished 7 of them. Good luck. Will I ever work with you again as a partner?" Because it feels like 7 out of 50.
Yeah.
That is like a D or something like that.
No, I've learned that the hard way for sure. In that internally, it's like, because I can see everything and understand the value of everything immediately, I used to throw stuff like that. It's like, oh, here's all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like understanding how they might think about it just the way you just did. It's like, well, aren't we talking about, why didn't we do any of that stuff? You only gave me this much stuff, right? Now I'm automatically coming from a place of either fear of missing out or buyer's remorse, or, and that's the start when, if you don't manage those feelings that, are, it's much easier. I think for me, it's much easier to get to those feelings, like, because it's usually something wasn't done with intention, with the goal, with the plan, right? You will get to those feelings. It is a little bit harder work, and there's less easy buttons to get to the, okay, I'm super confident in this investment. I'm adopting it. There's buy-in everywhere, right? That takes work. But when you do the work, that's when you get the value out of the system, no matter how much money you're spending on it. Even the free version, right? It's like, it's not going to do any of this for you. Like, there's work to be done. If you give it that work, if you give it that effort, it will do a lot of stuff for you at that point, right? But there's just no more easy buttons, man. I don't know if there ever were, really, but
Not
there's
really.
certainly not any now.
The product is very, very complex, and that means that, sure, you can do everything yourself. And I have had one of my customers who really was like, "You know what? We're going to do everything ourselves. How we're going to play this is we're going to set everything up from scratch. We're going to try to run with it for 6 months. Then we're going to delete everything. And then we're going to start over, because by that time, we just about know how things work and what we did wrong." And there's value in there. The question is, would they have had a higher return of investment if they would have just gone with a partner that could actually have saved them those 6 months? But
Yeah.
in a way, I pretty much respect that.
Right. No, as long as you understand, that's where like they took the responsibility of if they're gonna do it themselves, this is the only way. Like
Yeah,
they've created their own onboarding process, right? And that's this practical hands-on is what you either do it that way, which if there's no onboarding process, you do it through your day-to-day activities, like while you're trying to fit in HubSpot with no training. Like that's how a lot of the way that people are used to learning this stuff, which is very hard, very challenging. But that's also like what's the opportunity cost of taking 6 months of what else could they have been doing, during that time. And that's where the partners who have been hands-on, or any experts, doesn't have to be a partner, there's lots of individuals out there that can help
absolutely.
with this stuff. They've been through it before. I'm constantly drawing on my experience that were internal to organizations of dealing with multiple teams to help me, you know, guide people in the right direction, because we're getting farther and farther from, I bought this, let's plug it in and let's play. Like it's just you deserve more than that, and your people that you're serving deserve more than that. It's still, no matter how much people think HubSpot is expensive, it's the most affordable. I think hands down like apples to apples comparisons of the market, like the most affordable platform that's ever been created, like to have this kind of expanded view possible of the whole life cycle, in a way that doesn't require, you know, managed services and like big IT teams, big website management teams, right? So if you put the time in to understand that and hopefully like set some expectations, part of your responsibility is letting the person who's helping you with onboarding understand from the get-go that that's part of your goal. Like this is how we see HubSpot. you know we might be starting here, but we want to go here. We might be starting here and we got these other systems, right, that are going to handle this part, right? Like just clarity of expectations and
But
communication from
also,
the
as
get-go.
the customer, don't expect HubSpot to be a process. You're not buying a process, you're buying a product that can enable and elevate the process. But it is not the process.
That is a great way to end today's session, I think. That is well said, my friend. Where do you think we go from here? We've gotten through an onboarding, some examples. What else do we need to tackle when it comes to onboarding?
Should we tackle more of the user onboarding
I think so. I think so.
and really talk about a little bit about not just the first user, because we both don't care much about that. But if you start with user onboarding and using the portal, you should also think about when that first user leaves, for instance. What are the processes? How do you put that in place? That sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I love that. Like definitely helping admins or whoever's in charge of HubSpot. There's another whole process to onboarding the rest of the users. So yeah, that sounds like a great idea, man. So we'll start tackling that next week. And as you think about, maybe you got some new hires coming to help with the end of year push, doing some reorg. You're thinking about some planning, especially planning if you're planning for 2025. Like find a way to get more training in there. Like please, like yeah. As you're thinking about these future plans, like let's find some opportunities for, maybe we can improve some onboarding, maybe we can improve some training. Let's find those opportunities and let's
Absolutely.
grow. Have a great day, everybody.